What is something that poor people do that rich people are oblivious to? Wait. For everything. Wait for the bus to arrive, because it's always late. Take longer to travel farther to the cheaper store. Wait at the laundromat for your clothes to finish. Not only that, but the frequency of these waits is also higher. Because you don't have a car or money to be able to buy things in bulk or transport large amounts of clothing. It is time consuming as fuck. That whole, we all have the same 24 hours thing pisses me off every time I hear it for this exact reason. Rich people have a whole support network of other people that do their busy work for them. Mr. Richie Business doesn't have to make his own bed, or cook his meals, or clean his laundry house everything. He has a team that does all that for him. Us little people have to do all of that shit for ourselves and still make it in time to clock in. And then we're too exhausted to do anything with the sliver of time we have left. We all have the same 24 hours. Never mind, I bought a collective 120 hours of other people's time so I can use my 24 for funsies and sleep instead of maintenance and errands. Shop at different groceries for different items because they are cheaper at other places. As a kid, that was always an adventure. Which kid could find something for the lowest price? I never for a second thought we struggled with money. My parents made sure my brother and I never knew. They're true superheroes. Calculating the items in your cart before going to checkout. Checking your bank account balance in the checkout line. Make or turn down plans based around the cost of restaurants' activities cover. You can be pretty rich and still have that happen. It's just that the activities you're turning down are attending charity galas or renting out the racetrack. Decide which bills to ignore because no money. Yep. And know exactly when things get shut off if not paid. My mother would forget to sign the check. Back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, the utility companies would send it back and waive the late fee. Rich people seem to confuse not having money to do something with not wanting to waste money on something. No, it's not that I don't want to order pizza because I'm stingy. I literally don't have the money. Oof, I felt this one. I grew up poor, my spouse grew up wealthy. I love him dearly, but often in our marriage, especially early on, I'd have to explain to him that money is a finite resource. No, sometimes we couldn't buy the nicer thing, even if it'll last longer, because we couldn't afford it. I told someone with money I couldn't afford to go to the dentist, and they told me, "You can't afford not to." No, I literally do not have the money to pay for it. They seriously did not seem to realize that that is reality for many people. It'll cost more later. No, I just won't have teeth later. When buying anything or paying a bill, I automatically convert to how many hours of work it took to pay for it. When I was out of work and scrounging up money by tutoring math at $25 per hour, I recall measuring so many items at the supermarket by the metric of tutoring time. Lots of frivolous items were put back on the shelf. Adding potatoes to meals not because it belongs in a recipe, but because it's very filling and can stretch the meal to more portions. Rice, pasta, beans, and legumes are also great for this. Carrots too. I often shred several carrots into ground beef, like equal parts carrot and beef. It's actually delicious and it stretches the meat a lot. Pull all the money out of your checking and put into your savings so a certain bill don't go through so you can pay other bills. Oh God, yes, I feel this one. Put the part of my last paycheck for rent in the saving account so if there's a surprise bill I'll still be able to pay my rent. Go hungry. Sleep for dinner. This hits me so hard. Even as a financially successful adult, I have the hardest time not having a snack before bed because of all the nights I went to sleep hunger as a kid. I knew I had finally made it when I didn't have to do that anymore. Choosing to put up with pain and not going to the doctor because you can't afford the bill. I put up with a fistula that fed into a perpetual abscess next to my a-hole for 7 years because I couldn't afford surgery. I had to self-lance on a regular basis. After the surgery, the surgeon told me I'd be in immense pain for a while, unless I had just gotten so used to constant immense pain that I wouldn't notice. Guess who didn't notice? Pay excessive overdraft fees. Do people not know you can opt out of overdraft protection and your card will just get declined? Typical bank grift that should be illegal. My old credit union charged $35 per overdraft or $35 per overdraft denial. It's a fucking racket. People that don't keep fast food napkins in the glove box to use as tissues are in a totally different tax bracket. I'm in a different tax bracket now, and I still keep booger napkins. It seems wasteful not to do that regardless of your tax bracket. I grew up poor, so I use grocery bags as trash bags. Don't travel. The amount of people who are amazed when I say I haven't flown on a plane blows my mind. People do not realize how much money privilege it takes to travel at all, let alone on a yearly basis. Drive with an engine light on. Putting up with insanely horrible work conditions and harassment, knowing quitting is not an option. Choose between eating or gas to get to work. Those naps for lunch are sure delicious 90% of the time. Pay car insurance monthly instead of every 6 months. The amount of time you'll take to decide which expensive thing to buy, because you only get one chance at this, and it'll only happen once in your life, most likely. The amount of shit you'll save, boxes, soap, bubble wrap, bags, freebie whatevers, just because it's easier to save it than buy it. You learn a lot about how to fix your own shit, when you can't afford to pay someone to fix it for you. Keep a running tally of everything in the cart, then add tax. Then get to the self-checkout and check through the most needed items first, checking the total to see if the $2 bag of carrots will be too much. Self-checkout because it's less embarrassing to put something back. And poor people have to good at math and adding percentages for tax. Having a bad month or pay period and having to sell off home appliances to make rent mortgage. Happened growing up. Check prices at the supermarket. Taking less than your prescribed dosage of meds to try to ration them and save money. Once I had no money and I had to go to the urgent care to get some stitches removed. But remembering the $20 copay, I opted to just take them out myself. Lay awake at night worrying that things will get worse. Ignoring random calls from numbers you don't recognize, knowing there's a high chance they are debt collectors. Googling these numbers, confirming them, then adding their whole range of numbers to your block list because you don't have any money to offer and aren't in the position to even lose $10 PW to pay them. Adding water to the last bit of dish soap to make it last longer. This woman I worked with, who clearly never struggled, was yelling about how gross that was. Skipping on insulin to ration it. Mental health issues that go unchecked cause therapy is expensive. Turning down the heaters to save on heating costs. Live with fucked up teeth because they have high co-pays and low annual maximums and can barely afford to even get cavities filled. Rich people get extremely competitive health, vision, and dental plans, so they don't have to think twice. They need care? They get it. I have a rotten tooth that needs to be surgically extracted, need several root canals and crowns, need tons of cavity fillings, and have congenitally missing teeth. I can get the extraction, plus bone graft and implant, and handle one cavity before I hit my annual maximum. I floss and brush twice a day. I just have weak enamel and haven't been able to afford dental care in a while. And the missing teeth? Sorry. It's congenital pre-existing, so they don't have to cover it. No, Karen, I'm not doing drugs. God, people lose interest in talking to me the instant they notice my teeth, especially hiring managers. I start to smile as the conversation gets good, and suddenly the light just leaves their eyes. It's humiliating. Know what gas costs at several stations on your regular route, so you always pay the least. Being in constant fear that their children will be taken into care because there is not enough money for the basics, or just enough money, but one unexpected bill can be the end of it all. We had a scandal in the Netherlands where people were falsely accused of fraud. They had to pay back a lot of money at once, some things mentioned by them. One parent often had to quit their job because they couldn't afford a babysitter. They only got a very minimal amount of their salary, as most of it went to this sudden debt. It led to more debts, as the money they had left was not enough to cover their monthly bills. Some suddenly couldn't afford their house anymore, lost their house, had to move to a small apartment. Relationships often don't last if all you do is argue about money. Some left their children alone at night to work an extra night shift. They didn't want to, but it's either that or no food, no bills paid, so no electricity, losing their home. People always said it was their own fault. It was not. Shame. If people know you struggle financially, you will be the first one to be accused of being a thief if something goes missing. even if there have been a lot of people with access to the missing item money, etc., etc. Be in a constant state of panic because tripping on the sidewalk and twisting your ankle could ruin your entire life when you're 1 to a paycheck away from homelessness. Getting threats of eviction. Getting lights cut off. Worry about where their child will go to school. Shopping for themselves. Hoard non-perishables in times of plenty. Cut open the toothpaste to scrape out every last bit. Searching for discount codes for websites before checking out. Saved $100 this Christmas, and it took all of 3 minutes of my time. What is something that poor people do that rich people are oblivious to? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.